My name's Steve Court. I'm running with my wife Karen Court, and we're about to finish our first ever ultra. And it only leaves us with one thing to do, and that's introduce you all to this week's Tea and Trail podcast. So over to you guys.
Thanks so much, Steve and Karen Court, for this week's intro. I saw them both at the beginning of the 13 Valleys. It was their first ultra, so I thought it was a bit emotional. I was a bit emotional when I was watching that. It was their first ultra, and they chose to think of us at the very end. Yeah, you guys are sensational. You picked a spicy race. Everybody would have done some climbs on either the 13, the 7 or the 5. Not too sure the 2 Valleys route, but yeah, whatever it was a spicy race. And he filmed the whole race for his YouTube channel, and it's well worth checking out. If you're thinking of one of those 13 Valley races, head over to YouTube and search for Run to the Trails. Welcome to episode 90 of the Teen Trails podcast. This week we have a 13 Valleys debrief. How did I get on without my wingman Robbo? Was it puke and rally or pity party?
Thank you to our Patreon partners who share discount codes with our Patreons. We have Precision Fuel and Hydration, Velo Forte, Protein Rebel, Tiki Boo, Mountain Fuel, Outdoor Active, Silver Sweden, Active Root, The Centurion Running Store, Sportshoes.com, Big Bubble Hats, Harrier Trail Running, X Miles, Fawnside Farm Cottages, Yugoku Projects, Hellfire Events, Red Bear Sports, The Album App, Taylor Group Cycle Protection, Summit Crazy, Beated Sports, Lumi Activewear, Feelings Likes UK, Bridgedale Socks, Nav4, NAC Nutrition, and Ultra Trail 2. Extra shout out to Precision Fuel and Hydration and Protein Rebel. We use their products every day to help fuel, hydrate, and recover.
If you'd like to save some money and support the podcast and our partners, then please consider joining Patreon. Also, pop over to Summit Crazy if you'd like to buy some awesome Tea and Trails merch.
Thank you to our sponsors, Precision Fuel and Hydration, X Miles, Beta Outdoor Sports, Phoenix Light UK, and Protein Rebel for sponsoring this week's show. Patrons, you can get 15% off over at Precision Fuel and Hydration. Also, if you'd like to just try it and you don't want to be a Patreon, we won't judge, but we'll just be a bit sad. You can get 15% off your first order with the code CAPSLOCKS T20. Also, new Protein Rebel customers can enjoy. You can enjoy. How do you enjoy a 15% off? Oh, I'm really enjoying. I do often see, if you're buying something quite expensive and it says discount code box, and you think, who gets a discount code for this? I'd love a discount code for this. But if you want a discount code for Protein Rebel, we got one for you. It's caps lock. T, just one. Take your caps lock off, T15. Links to all our sponsors can be found in the show notes and over at www.teandtrails.com. This week's newsletter is all about strength and conditioning for the older athletes, which is incredibly timely because I am going to talk at the Wild Heart Runners conference this weekend about strength training and a little bit specifically strength training for older athletes as well. If you haven't got a ticket, I'm afraid it is sold out, Gazzy. It's sold out. And there's only one reason for that. Do you know why it's sold out? Because Debs and Gazers are legends. Everybody loves the Scottish ultra running legends. But it looks like it's going to be a really interesting day. I'm really looking forward to learning because I love education. But this email, really good, points out importance of strength training, both for men and women. If you're not sure, if you've not started, it's never too late. It increases your bone density. It helps injury prevention. It helps longevity. It helps your performance. It also helps your immune system. It also helps your brain. It helps your brain as we get a little bit older. We can forget the names of, how many times do I call the kids the dogs' names and vice versa? Strength training, there's no detriment to strength training. Every minute, there's a lot of detriment to running. Every time you pound the road, it's a dangerous game you play between injury and the joy of running. But strength training, it's only going to make you feel and look better. So do it. Anyway, if you want more interesting insights, sign up to their Precision Fuel and Hydration newsletter. What I also love about their newsletter is it's always different sports. I love that. They work in all the different sports. So sometimes it's triathlon, sometimes it's cycling. I love it when they do a professional cyclist fueling. And it's just mind-blowing. I'm so jealous when they can eat 6,000 calories a day.
Weekly deets. So I didn't really do much. Should I do mine first?
So let's rewind. The race started on Friday.
Yes.
6 p.m, wasn't it? Because we had a bit of messages when you were on your way. Yeah. How were you feeling going into that race? The jitters get to you throughout the week?
Oh, I was pretty chilled about the whole... Anxiety built in the event village as you chatting with people, but...
Get like the shakes and the sweats. It's awful.
That's okay. I suppose because
You're a celebrity.
Celebrity.
You're
Yeah.
okay.
Performance-wise, there was nothing invested in it. So I wasn't like, definitely not like League 100 where I was full of stress. But the cold moved to my chest. So a sandbagging alert. Everything was fine. We did get to the end. That is a little bit of a spoiler. But my goodness me, I leaned on my asthma pump pretty heavy during the race.
For that. Do you know what a chewy is?
No.
Not a chewy. I was make it sound like a tui. It's a you have to have it from the doctor to say that you because you're basically taking steroids.
I see where
so you pumped yourself full of some steroids.
Well, I'm not one of these athletes who all of a sudden pretend they've got asthma.
All professional cyclists have asthma. It's really terrible. It's rife.
But don't come at me, GPs. Yeah, it was fine. But the week, just a couple of runs, no major sessions. I think I did do a session. Thursday just ended up being a trip to the pub, which was quite nice. We even talked about maybe we move our rest day to a Thursday and we sack off any running on a Thursday and we just have beers on a Thursday.
I think that's a dangerous, I think that's a dangerous game of you middle-aged men just starting going to the pub.
Travelled over on Friday to the lake, super chilled. Yeah, it was really nice. Goodness me, if I didn't set off on a Friday, that I'd just be in a spin of stress. But for some reason, 13 Valleys, same start time. No rushing about, no dramas. Slept great all week. HRV not looking good. I think that is the chest infection or the hangover with that. Looked at the charts for the podcast charts. We were number 2, Edwina.
It doesn't surprise me, Gary. I think just the electricity, me recording from a car park, you with your chest infection. Why would people not want to be listening to this?
I was blown away. I thought those days had gone. I would be in the top.
Why did you think those days are gone? I don't want to work with someone that sets the bar low and it's like, I'm happy with mediocre. That's not
I'm not happy. I'm not happy. I just see some of those podcasts have big, deep pockets that they can lean on. And we don't have that. It's just us two hustling away. But yeah, super grateful.
I always get a bit embarrassed when we have sort of a high profile podcast guest and they go, well, one last week said, have you got a studio? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Come along. I'll give you the postcode.
That's the passenger seat.
There's something about it though. That could be sometimes you have your best discussions like in the car or running side to side. So if we sat side, and my car, Gary, is top of the range. It's got 2 heated seats. It's cozy.
Let's do that. It's a James Corden. This is a carpool karaoke. We could do that.
We could do car podcasts. I like my car. It's also got this it's pretty old standard car, but it's got like this little bit of the seat that lifts your hamstring up. Like it's got an extra bit of padding and it's sensational. It takes like the pressure off the hamstrings. See, I can't believe why we're only number 2 and we're not number 1, Gary.
But my Friday in Keswick, even though everything was super chilled, that turned into a disaster pretty quickly. I was on full send after this happened. I lost my wedding ring. Can you believe it?
Lost your wedding ring.
I can't remember the name of the restaurant, but Aaron and I went for pizza.
And you took it off because
no, I didn't.
The waitress
I don't know
was pretty and you wanted to... That's a joke.
I just remember fiddling with my finger and thinking, that doesn't feel right anymore. And I was like, oh my goodness me, my wedding ring's not there. Would you I'd hand cash in. Sorry, no, I'll rephrase that. I wouldn't hand cash in. If I found 20 quid, I think I'd keep it. If I found a wedding ring, then yes, I would 100% hand that in. You're looking at your face.
If I found 20 quid, yeah, I'd do the same. I'm only winding you up. But how did it, I couldn't get my wedding ring off unless somebody greased my fingers and pulled it off.
I'm a shadow of my former self, so the wedding ring.
We've seen the shorts.
I know.
Oh, that's so sad. That's so sad. I hope that you find it because that must have been emotionally a bit traumatic.
It's just symbolic, isn't it? It's
The only time I've ever taken mine off was when the doctor took it off at the end of the spine race when my fingers were so swollen. She got like a whole bottle of washing up liquid and she's like, we've got to get this ring off now, otherwise you're going to have it cut off. That would have been traumatic. Bryn watching me having the wedding ring cut off. This is symbolic.
And then to top it off, when I went back to the car, somebody had just left a little dint in the hire car.
In the hired car. Oh,
drove
no. Did you
Drove
take
off
that
without-
insurance out?
I did. Thank goodness I
Oh,
did. Yeah.
thank goodness.
Yeah, lesson learned. Anybody out there who's hiring a car, I think if I never, it was like £100 I had to pay because of the damage. It would have been, was it 1,000 or 2,000
Yeah, they
pound?
absolutely diddle you, don't they? If you don't take the insurance out. Yeah, we've learnt that the sad, bitter way as well.
It is what it is. You know, it was not a welcome distraction. The anxiety was when I was racing, I was just thinking, I've literally left that car for an hour and it's got a knock on it. What's it going to be like after 36?
Jeez, yeah.
I was really worried going back to the car on Saturday morning, whenever it was. Yeah, Sunday morning, sorry. So, but luckily, no more damage. But yeah, that was a really relaxing week. Relaxed Friday up to a point, and then off we all trotted into the dark. What about you?
Can I just say that? Can I just use a vomit emoji?
Brew the coaches.
Let's go, brew the coaches. We always want to be honest, don't we? We want to share, but I don't ever want to burden people with my negativity and be like, and also, and I get quite a lot of like, you probably have this too, Gary, like friends, family, lots of my coaching athletes listen. I don't want people worrying about me. I'm absolutely fine. It's just life is a lot for Eddie at the moment. So let's pick off the thread from last week. You'll all remember because you probably keep a diary of my escapades. Anyway, I finished last week with a horrible long run in which I walked up through the town weeping at the state of my hips and soreness and that I was so slow and old and over the hill and I was retiring. I did what any good runner does and thought I'll have a rest day. And then when it got to my rest day, I went, no, I won't have a rest day. I don't need it. I don't deserve a rest day. And so, but I did take 2 days off running. There's magic in a little micro pause sometimes. My body did not feel good. I didn't feel good. I didn't love running. I didn't want to in my life. And so I thought I'm going to take it's going to make zero difference. I'm going to step away from those trainers for a couple of days and just get on my bike. I love my bike.
So did you feel poorly too, or just the old
nothing?
bones?
No, sadly, nothing wrong with me. I wish I'd had a chest infection to sandbag. I didn't. There's nothing wrong with me. I just felt really sore. So I took 2 days off running and I jumped on my bike, which I enjoyed. I did a couple of sessions. I just did some spinning. I caught up on, I love a YouTube video, caught up on that. But it is a big time hemorrhage because I still have to then take the dogs out twice a day. So I end up still like walking 6-7 miles and then the bike as well. So I end up like, I've done like literally full-time job is walking these dogs if I don't run them as well, as we all know. Then Wednesday I was like, oh, shall I have one more day? I'm feeling better. So I did a bike in the morning and then in the afternoon I was just like, I can't be bothered to walk the dogs again. I'm just going to put my trainers on and just do like half an hour, see how I feel. And I felt absolutely fine. Body was good and I was proud of myself, did some strides.
Oh, sensational.
Outside the kids. Yeah, it's something I've like this training block while I'm really pressed for training time. And also I'm really aware that the high level of stress in my body, I cannot push my body to the limit in a training session because it is already super stressed and inflamed. So I need to be really mindful of that my training sessions are a bonus to my life rather than detrimental. Gary, I'm being a little bit kind to myself. So, but what I am doing is like pretty much every run, I will do a variation of strides within my run to just keep the leg speed, keep the efficiency. I really enjoyed them. And also I was an 800-meter runner for 10 years, Gary.
You must have some speed.
Yeah, I love getting that heel lift up. I did get a long run in. I did my long run in 3 parts. Bryn's away for a couple of weeks, so I have no ability to... I can leave the kids in the morning for an hour. Well, they're probably still asleep, so they wouldn't even know. But I would never leave them for like 3 to 4 hours. Jeez, the carnage, the biscuits that would be eaten in that. So I just did it in 3 parts, and I did like 5 a.m. run with the dogs, and then I did a 7-mile run by myself, and then I did another 7-mile run with the dogs. And I tell you what, there's method in my madness, because one, I think it's almost better for the body in that when my body was feeling a bit achy, it was only really feeling achy in the long runs. I actually felt good. I did a little bit of steady state running in that last hour because I like doing that as well, the end of a long run to like, you think you're picking the pace up. You're not really. Also, it's very race specific to a big 200-mile race of the like getting going again. Oh, the old tin woman.
It's similar, isn't it? Is it the Ingebrigtsens, I think that's the Norwegians, they do that double threshold day. I don't think they do. So if they had, say, maybe for argument's sake, an hour threshold run, they wouldn't do 2 1-hour threshold runs. They'd break that up over, maybe they'd do 2 40 minutes or 2 30 minutes. It wouldn't just be more and more. Because I initially thought, wow, that double workout in a day, well, definitely for someone like me, there's no point in doing it. But the mental load of that. But yeah, if it's easier, 2 easier sessions, then maybe there's something in it.
What I came to the conclusion of this, there's no right or wrong way, Gary. There's no right. My training at the moment on paper looks absolutely awful, but I'm still doing what I want to do. It's just juggling all. And I think we worry, and I'm not allowing myself to do this. There's a barrier in place. I'm not looking on Strava. I'm not comparing myself to anybody because I'm just doing what I can do and fitting it all in. And it's not perfect in what I would like it to look like, but I'm still doing it. I'm still going out there. And sometimes I think that strength of like the juggle and the tiredness and like working out, right, where I'm going to fit this in. I've got to do this, I've got to pack this, like that mental, like resilience and that mental drive to still want to do it, I think it's all training. It's all training when I think like this is actually all really good ultra training when I'm getting up at 5 o'clock to go out with my head torch and
you can lean on that.
field.
All those tough decisions you've had to make, I think, yeah, definitely. You're right. Always training.
I need some more head torch running because I don't do enough of it. And I find like in the roots and in the trees, really, I'm really rubbish. I find I'm like, I cannot see anything, even with this 2 million lumen head torch. I'm like, what's that? Oh my God, it's a snake. Oh no, they don't have snakes in Scotland. Anyway, it is what it is. It was another steady week ticked off, got my gym done, and we move forward. This week's a little bit calmer. And I'm just doing what I can and breathe and believe, Gary.
From head hitting the pillow to falling asleep, what we're looking at.
So I always put a podcast on when I'm going off to sleep, and I have certain podcasts that I never actually listen to because I just like the noise. And literally, a lot of podcasts now have adverts in the beginning. And I don't even get past the advert. Brilliant. I've been wanting to listen to one. Who was it? Someone was on a podcast. Been wanting to listen to it, and I put it on about 12 times. I'm like, right, I'm going to get to the interview. I'm going to get to the interview tonight. Yeah, no problem sleeping. That's good. Anyway, it's fine. It's fine, and we'll keep moving forward. Keep working on the butt cheeks. That's all we can do.
Oh, it's inspiring, Eddie. Really, honestly.
It is. Your car park recording. It's fine. I want to always be truthful, but I also want to say to anyone else out there that's juggling a lot, things aren't always going their way. We're here for you. We're here for it all. And that's fine. It doesn't always need to be perfect workouts, perfect life, perfect. It's not. It's life. It's messy. It's messy that's.
Can you imagine a perfect life where everything just falls into place? Just a week would be nice.
A week. This week's main interview is sponsored by X Miles, the one-stop kit and nutrition shop. Thank you so much, X Miles. Don't forget, patrons can receive 10% off over at www.xmiles.co.uk. I'm in the market for some sort of waffles, stroop waffles, that sort of thing. I'm going to pop over to X Miles. They're my fueling of choice at the moment. I'm all about. Do you think it's because it's a bit colder? I want a pumpkin flavour one.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what the flavours are, but yeah, that's the Knack Nutrition, the Stroop waffles.
Knack Nutriffers, they are sensational. I'd eat those as candy, but I mustn't. This week's interview is with the one and only my podcast bestie, Gary Thwaites. How did Gary cope with his second 100-miler of the year? We spill the deets. Here we are. Here's our chat with Gazza. So we left you at the beginning of this podcast. We left you wedding ringless and car dented in Keswick. So let's just pick it up from there. No doubt you stayed in some sort of youth hostel.
No, we went for the luxury of a B&B in Keswick. Sensational.
me through. I'm more interested in this race, to be honest. Talk me through. Was it old Mrs. Goggins' B&B? Did she have lacy curtains and lacy bloomers?
Classic, classic B&B. I always wonder with the B&B people, like, what would it like to own a B&B and open your property up to other people? What would... That's not a euphemism for anything else. But yeah, how's that? That'd be quite wild, just having randoms coming in all the time. But which ultimately your home. But yeah, it's classic.
You ever put your head down on a B&B bed and think, oh, how many people have slept in this bed and what have they done?
I think I've been doing some exercises once on a travel lodge floor, and it made me gag.
Oh, yeah. So the B&B was nice. Could you get the breakfast? Because it was pretty early. No, it was the evening. So no, I'm so confused. So you stayed in the B&B, but you didn't stay the night in the B&B.
Exactly, yeah. So we'd paid for the B&B. Oh no, she was super kind actually. She gave us the key. So Aaron had the key so he could go back whenever he finished. Unfortunately for Aaron, yeah, he did do a DNF. So he went back to the B&B. But yeah, I didn't get back to the B&B until Sunday morning. So fast forward, basically about an hour's kip, 2 hours kip.
Then you had to check out, Mrs. Goggins.
No. Luckily, yeah, Aaron had done an amazing thing. He booked Sunday night too. Although we did leave Sunday because I was driving the journey back to the northeast side of, I must have had like 4 hours sleep after breakfast. So yes.
I've done that before when I've done 100 milers, is I've kept the hotel room so I can keep my stuff and then done a late checkout and then showered in all my clothes in the shower because I was so muddy. I didn't know, I couldn't get them off. And I was, like when you stop after a big race as well, you seize up so bad. I couldn't get my shoes off. So I thought I'd just go and sit in the shower and then clean everything. And then I went to bed at like 7 o'clock in the morning, and then I had to check out at 11. Let's just say that about him.
Well, I felt really sensitive. I wouldn't feel so guilty in maybe like a Premier Inn or a Travel Lodge where it's this big face organisation. When I made a mess in a little shower room.
Oh, didn't mess in the bed and the shower room. Okay, so we've got the accommodation sorted. Lovely. Right, let's get registration. We've done Did we do? No, we haven't done registration. How was registration?
Quite comforting actually, because the person who was doing registration, basically I think I had the same wardrobe as she did, because everything I got out my bag, she was like, I've got that insulated jacket, I've got those tights. So yeah, all that was fine, no dramas. I had a complete spare set of kit just in case something I had. I was pretty confident everything was fine, but just in case something I had for some reason was a red flag. I think overall, there's quite a lot of people over the 2, the 3, the 5. Was there 3 valleys? 2, 5, 7, 13?
5, 7, 13, yeah.
So collectively, loads of people. We drove over on the day, which is quite unusual for me for a race like that. We did that. We checked in, had some food, went back to the car, bashed up, lost my wedding ring. Lots of stress that was happening, but we still had plenty of time.
Apparently, well, I've seen the photos of your pert little butt cheeks in leggings and not shorts.
I thought because we had to carry leggings and we were running straight into the night, and the forecast for the night, especially, I mentioned probably last week, I checked like Helvellyn forecast, so I knew what the high fells were predicted, and yeah, it was going to be like low degrees, so I thought definitely put the tights on. It was actually colder in the valleys than actually on the high fells. So I just thought, yeah, I'm going to be carrying these tights. It's going to be cold. There was some points definitely during the day though where I could have quite easily stripped off.
I think as well, like in a race that length as well, your blood flow from your muscles, it just slowly disappear. And actually keeping them, even just a legging, just keeping them a little bit warmer is a good idea. So I was proud of you. I was proud of you for that.
I did that too, Helvellyn, the other year when I did it. So if I fail sometimes, especially at this part of the year, if I'm going to have to carry this kit, it's like the base layer. I started with a long sleeve base layer on too. So they had to be in the bag regardless. So I just thought I'd wear them. It was purely motivated by keeping warm during the night and saving a few grams in the bag.
How did you feel at the start? How many people on the start line?
I'm not too sure, to be honest. Maybe 150. I think 200 entered. I could be, listen, I'm throwing numbers out there. I don't know, to be honest. It felt okay though. It didn't feel like 1,000,
then about 1,900 started.
It was good though. It had a good buzz about it. It didn't feel huge. It didn't feel tiny. I really like that when they strike the balance between you got this big event feel.
That is quite a tiny field though for a big for a 100 miler, isn't it? Less than 200 people. You're going to be spread out.
I think it was sold out. So maybe because it is a second year, they're just trying to bind their feet as opposed to trying to sell 700 places.
They might have licenses in place for using certain bits of land as well, that they're only allowed so many people. How did you feel at the start? So, because Lake 100, well, no, I said don't compare, but I'm going to compare straight away. That Coniston is a heart rate buster. That first hour or so is the many testosterone explosions. How did you feel at the start? What went down?
Because I knew the task ahead. I'd recceed it quite extensively, the parts that I needed to recce at least. So I knew the task ahead. Unlike the Lake 100, where you start, and like you say, it's just basically like a long buster straight up to Old Man of Coniston. We don't go to the full Old Man of Coniston, but it's a big climb. This up to Honiston Slate Mines, it's all up, but it's quite a gentle climb. So I think the trails also, they're not single track trails, and it's not an aggressive climb. So for a start to a race like this, yeah, very welcome. I think because of excitement and adrenaline, heart rate, I was able to chat. So it was a false heart rate. Yeah, you're not in daylight for long. When you get to Honiston, head torch is on already.
You start with your head torch on your head?
Can't remember, to be honest. I think I had him a little instinct stretchy waist packs, because it's quite technical. Once you leave Honesty, you do climb up. That's not particularly technical. But when you drop down into Buttermere, that is technical. So yeah, we hoped that maybe we'd have daylight into Buttermere, but no, unfortunately not. Head torches are on.
How was the fueling in that first couple of hours?
Yeah, no dramas. Food going in well, gels going down. I don't remember any nutrition issues, maybe for about a good 6 hours. So yeah, that was fine. And then you climb up. So you climb up out of Honiston, drop down into Buttermere. Then you get on the Lake 100 route in reverse. In effect. Okay. So you go up the Black Sail Hut Youth Hostel, and then we climb out of Black Sail. That's a good climb, actually. And I saw Katie Allen. She was in a little tent just on the pass, and it's it's always nice. You just recognize a voice in the darkness. So that was good. And then you head down to Wasswater, very quiet. Lake 100, Sunderland Strollers. It's like a party at Wasswater. But this is very quiet in contrast, and yeah, just really nice. Had everything you needed, stocked up, and then off you went from Wasswater to Boot. Always do that in the dark, apart from recce's. I don't think I've ever, every race that has been in the dark. And I think on the way to Boot, I can't remember what it was I ate, but there was a bit of protest from the tummy. And I made a mindful decision. I'm going to stop in Boot, going to recalibrate. I was fine, I thought I banged on about it so often on the podcast. I didn't want it to happen, but if it happens, this is my chance. You don't really get these opportunities when you're doing your recce's. Idea was sit in the checkpoint and only leave that checkpoint when I could eat something without it triggering me again. And yeah, I had some soup, I had some crisps, I might have had a few cups of tea, I had some lovely TLC from Sharon Dyson and the rest of the team in there. And I just took a load off. It was as simple as that. I wanted to just reset. Even though the reset didn't last for long, I never got to the next checkpoint feeling sensational. It was quite short-lived, but to get out of the checkpoint and have some food in the belly lifts the mood immediately. Yeah. And you can keep moving. I never once through the whole of the 36 hours felt like the task was too much. Again, Lake 100, some of the running towards the end, I think Robbo, he did his best to keep me moving, but stark contrast towards the end, I'll talk about, but I was like chasing head torches at the end. And that's pretty much what I did at every checkpoint. Not because I was being lazy, I just really needed that reset every time. Simple as that.
So you said goodbye to Sharon and her team. They kicked you out eventually. Off you go to Coniston. How was that section?
We called in the valley again, and I had Joe and Stuart in my ear. Be asked. It's like, I think they're like the guys off the what's it called, the Muppet Show, the two dudes in there. I'm not too sure if they'd like that comparison, but it was a positive, literally be asked, really boggy in sections, some kind of boardwalks in the field. I went thigh deep in a bog.
Is there anything better at a weekend that goes thigh deep in the bog?
Super grateful I went over a few weeks ago and I did that recce because I had the knowledge. There's a section where you peel off the Lake 100 route, and I saw some head torches and I thought to myself, they haven't done the same recce I did. But then you become, am I wrong? Are they wrong?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So anyway, I carried on the line I thought I should have been on, and we eventually met up. Before that, I had some major watch issues. I mentioned it, yeah. So I had to, basically, I'd set a timer every 30 minutes to remind me to eat, and I'd set the Sunto to turn off the screen to conserve battery.
Oh, and then you couldn't see it.
No, it was fine. But it went, for some reason, it stopped beeping to remind me to eat, and the screen stayed on permanently. So it was just potentially burning batteries. I thought, well, if it's going to do this, then I'm not going to have watch right to the very end. And I wanted a lovely, nice Strava map. But I stopped the watch. I spent so long faffing around. So this group I was with, who were the guys that were wandering around up on the higher fells, they just drifted off. So I was left on my own to try and do this. I ended up turning my watch off.
Surely it would last.
I don't think the Suntour race would have lasted for 36 hours without this feature. I could be wrong, to be honest. Obviously, I didn't test it out.
Long enough in the checkpoints. You could have charged everybody's watches.
Well, I did charge it at Ambleside. Luckily, I give it a top of Ambleside. But so I turned it off. I eventually just kind of thought, right, I'm just going to turn this goddamn watch off and start again.
Watch admin is the what you can't, and you lose the ability. You're pressing all the wrong buttons.
Well, I didn't even know how to turn it off. And then once I turned it off, I didn't know how to turn it back on again. It was like, oh my goodness me, what do I do? And then when you turn a Suntour on, it goes through this weird calibration thing. So you're like in the dark, waving your arm around, trying to do this figure of 8 before it gets the gyro or the compass. Yeah. Eventually, we are back on track and the screen is turning off and it's beeping every 30 minutes. But my little team that we're with, there's like 3 other runners, I think, they drifted off. But in their faff with the navigation and my faff with the Suntour, we eventually met each other as we crossed the little sty before you head into the woods. And that's where you peel off from what would be the Lake 100 route and you drop down into the valley. It's such a big section, actually, because, again, Lake 100, Boot, you'd stop at Thwaites, and then you go to Coniston. On the 13 valleys, you go from Boot all the way to Coniston. So bear that in mind, Jeff. If you're thinking about entering this race, not every time, but sometimes could be 3 to 4 hours between. For someone who's running at my speed, at least, it's all different for everybody else. But someone who's running for my speed, and they might not be used to that. You might be used to a checkpoint every, say, 10K. Sometimes it isn't the case. Headed down into Coniston. That's probably where I'm adamant it wasn't a hallucination, but I was tired. And I think it was just a trick of the light. I'll try and describe it. So you see some huge puddles and you have a reflection from the sky. So you see some trees, you see some clouds, you see some stars. It was almost like it entered this upside down world. It was really weird. And I thought I didn't think it was a puddle. I thought it was actually upside down sky. And if I went into it, I was going to kind of float into the upside down. I'm not too sure what was going on. The first time I did it, I literally slammed on the brakes like, oh, my goodness me, what the hell is going on here? And then I gingerly dipped my toe into it and it rippled and it was all fine. Gels then were triggering. I think I tried a caffeine gel. I might have just had a sip of it.
Bold move when you're not feeling great.
Well, I just thought I had to. But yeah, I needed a hard reset at Coniston. Tried some rice pudding. That immediately, it was the classic hand over mouth and just because you'd have people who were there supporting their friends as runners, so they might not have seen stuff like this going on. And then there's this just like random middle-aged man in tights puking up rice pudding in the dark. And again, I just thought, okay, right, I've just got to sit here, had a cup of tea. I probably had some soup, super sensational, just a couple of slices of bread, dunking that in some soup. I might have tried my luck with some raw rice pudding, crisps, more cups of tea, and eventually we're okay to go again. And that was the Freddo epiphany. As I came back in from being sick, one of the checkpoints team said, oh, maybe try Freddos. They always seem to work for me. Never, ever in my life had I tried Freddo. And almost like,
Freddo? Don't they like
I've had Freddos, but not during a race. And it was almost like, well, I don't want to dismiss this guy's tip. So I took 2 Freddos from him just to thought, okay, I've done that. He's kind of passed on his wisdom and I've listened to him. But really, I didn't give any weight to it. I just thought I was being polite, and then headed out into the night, and it was super cold again down by the lake.
Did you get your running going? Bit of an easier section this section.
Anything I wanted to, I could run. Yeah. It was the kind of tale of the race because you're in and out of these valleys that you'd go from cold, it would be raining, then you'd be hot. So you were constantly changing your lanes. But you have to do that. If you want to be comfortable, you don't want to turn into a big ball of sweat. That is what you have to do. And that's when I tried the Freddos. I think that was probably the first point I tried the Freddos. And it was like, oh my God, what have I missed out on? I think I had Baby Bells too. Maybe Baby Bells was there as well.
See? You've listened to me and I've said to everybody many times, Baby Bells, minstrels. I mean, you went the cheaper version, but you would because you were like that. You went the Fredo version. I'm more of a minstrel girl. But The ultimate combination there.
Baby Bell, that creamy cheese. The only thing is, I wish they'd took them out of the packets because it was such a faff on.
You get a runners like a sort of runners. You just get them in like a Ziploc. Actually, you can get Minstrel Baby Bell or Fredo Baby Bell. You can choose which one you want, and then just come in a Ziploc. Done, sorted. Because you were quite rude when I suggested Baby Bells, and you
dismissed it. Yeah,
going. There's literally no carbohydrates in there.
Well, I even thought, how much carbs am I going to get from these Freddos? And I think it is about 10 grams per bar. So I was doing 2 bars every half an hour with a Baby Bell chaser, washed down with precision fuel hydration.
Like, this is okay.
Well, I was wondering, do I have the Baby Bell first? Obviously, I don't like to go back to savoury after I've had a dessert. So I was like always playing with how I should have them.
Yeah, when I would probably change it every time as well, because then you forget which one you had last, and then you'd have the Baby Bell and you go, nah, it was the Baby Bell I had last. Keep you entertained for like 3 or 4 hours. You're jogging.
And it was a little task. It was a little problem to solve trying to get into the Baby Bell.
So you must be, Dawn, when you really hit the cheese and chocolate hard, that means you're not far off Dawn, because it is definitely, it's not a daytime snack, funnily enough. It's definitely something you do by yourself in the dark.
Nighttime nibbles.
It must have been getting near sunrise now.
Yeah, it was incredible, actually. We come into Lake Windermere. Sun is coming up. I don't think I'll ever forget that moment. People ask me, like, what was your favourite moment? And there's a couple. It's all to do with sun's going up or sun going down, really. Troutbeck, the valley, before we start the climb for High Street, that was sensational too. But yeah, the sunrise right on the lake. And we saw Robin Cassidy, actually. She was in a car park before we got to Ray Castle. Just a lovely tourist spot. And I don't really go that side of Windermere very often. It was only on the recce the other week that I've actually done that. People who've done the lap and races like that, I suppose, is quite familiar to them. And it was Joanne Hazlitt and her team at Ray Castle. Yeah, they kept me right. And again, I was so chilled. I got there, then a wave of runners came in after me, and I think they all left before me. I was just completely doing my own thing. I think they might have booted me out, but before they kicked me out, I think I grabbed I think I asked if it was okay. Can I take like 10 Freddos? Is that okay?
Now, when I've run with you before, I'm chatting to you and I turn around, you disappeared to go and do a Jimmy Riggler. I would say pretty much every like half K is a understatement. How is it going this time?
This was like a voyage of discovery, this whole race, really. Trusting the nutrition, ramping the effort down. So I also thought, I wouldn't say try and dehydrate myself, but I tried to ramp down how much fluid I was drinking, because just like normal, I'd be dashing for the bushes goodness me, it could have been every mile. It was pretty embarrassing. So I thought I'd really rein in the drinking to see how that affected the toilet stops. And yeah, I got it down to maybe 500 ml, every 2.5 to 3 hours.
Oh, geez, Gary, that's nothing.
But that was literally just to wash the Freddos.
That's just the moisture for the Freddos. But also, you were sitting in the checkpoints drinking tea.
Yeah.
Which you're not normally doing, are you? You were
exactly. So soup, tea. So there was liquid coming in at checkpoints, but in between.
As ever, dear listener, what we do, we'll tell you. We're totally truthful. We will tell you. I'll tell you about the time today when I was doing a quick world wee and a car came down. I had to pull my leggings up really quickly, but I couldn't get my pelvic floor in action, stop the wee fast enough, and it went all everywhere. We'll tell you the truth. We'll tell you the truth. But what we do is not necessarily the recommended. But then 99% of people out doing these mega long ultra races are not doing something that medical professionals would advise.
Exactly.
Pushing your body to the limits. But so don't think, right, because Gary's drunk 500
But my effort was so low. Literally, I checked my heart rate. I don't even think I probably got into zone 2 for the climbs. Other than that, it was really, really
I love it.
just cruising along.
I think you've got a bit of wee anxiety. It's a real thing. I think it's a real thing as well. I think once you
I needed a wee at the very end. I was thinking as I was standing there with the baby dragon out, is like Steve Ashworth got his drone or something? I'm going to be on some kind of on the
That is
dark web.
exactly what happened at Northern Traverse, wasn't it? Because Steve had his grown out, and I was like, "Oh no, I was going to do a wee before I finished, and now I'm going to actually run and lift the knees up a bit." Right, where we got to? We're going Langdale to Ambleside, middle of the day now. I'm just trying to keep the flow of
I've completely lost track of time at this point, to be honest. But yeah, I went down hard actually in between. So people who know this section, you've got two big climbs. You're coming out of the Langdales, you've got an enormous climb there. And then when you leave Thwaites, you've got a huge climb there. And on that gnarly section before you get to the stretcher box, I think it's on like Sprinkling Tarn around that area, went down. Luckily, just bruised my hand, a little bit embarrassed. I don't think anybody witnessed it, actually. I had a few wees there, and I remember looking around immediately. I was having a wee, and then I saw somebody. It's like, oh, for God's sake. But I knew it was coming. I recce'd this section, so completely familiar. I knew the climbs. I knew the descents weren't going to be that fast, too. I had a few chats on the trails that were like, it's just as frustrating going down. You can't actually move fast. But yeah, then it would be raining. It would be getting hot. Super busy. Loads of tourists actually out and about. Had a good little reset at Thwaites. Saw some more listeners there.
We're talking about the running, basically. This is all about what you ate in the checkpoints and the tax.
Well, I reflected on the race and how I'm going to tell this story, and I'm really upbeat about it all. There's no apologies. There's no drama. Yeah, I was sick, but just like 2023 Lakeland 100, I managed that. So my memory of that race was very positive. I'm sure the reality when I was on the trails was different. But so yeah, there's no real trauma here. I was just chugging along quite merrily. Do you remember the Tales from the Trails Dragon's Back race? Chicken in a Ziploc bag. That wasn't actually chicken in a plaster.
Oh my God. That was one of the worst ones. You met the chicken in the bag girl.
I met the chicken in the bag girl. I had a chat with the listener too, Tracy Pinder. That was nice. And then off we go, yeah, the big climb, and then drop down into Grasmere. I love the high fells, but I do love the hustle and bustle of these little towns or villages too. And then yeah, as we dropped down into Grasmere, I bumped into a friend. Totally didn't know she was going to be there, so that was quite nice. So Christine Watton-Wiseman and her family. And then we get into the Grasmere checkpoint, and it's right smack bang in the middle of Grasmere. So it's a real busy hub. I think if you were a runner, you could have friends meet you there. And that's where I saw Zoe Murphy, Paul, a friend of Zoe's, Robin, and Ozzy the dog too. Yeah, big boost there. And I scoffed on some lasagna. I had my lasagna there. I had a Huel drink, which it was one of their pre-made ones. It wasn't one of the ones that I made. It was like one of their black editions. So it's got loads of protein and carbs in it. Yeah, make or break. But I just thought I probably needed some protein in there. And because I wasn't eating as much as I hoped between checkpoints, the idea at checkpoints was, to fuel up, and then off we go to Ambleside. I got a real boost when I was running to Ambleside. So that section for Ambleside, you've got Rydal Water, you see a bit of Grasmere too. Very rolling, but I'd say 99% of it is runnable. And somebody, as they passed me going to Ambleside, they said I was the only person they'd seen actually running. It gave me a pump because we were a significant chunk into the race. It wasn't plan A, this was plan B, was working. And at this point in the race, I was still coherent. I could still run when I wanted, and have a little bit of just a random person. I don't know who they were.
I said it to everybody. Everybody
they
running.
Probably did. Oh, thanks, Eddie. And then you come into Ambleside, and that was great again. You know, I'm just saying constant name dropping this, but there's Shane Orley there, Paul Nelson, Katie Curran. She's a listener to the podcast too in Ambleside. I heard glowing reports at donuts at Ambleside. Couldn't have any. My spider senses. You know, sometimes you look at something and it's like
you were looking at the photos, going, "This is for me." Donuts.
Donuts. No thanks. And I don't actually know what I did there. It was really sunny. I just sat down on the comfy chair and just chilled. I don't even know how long I was there. Just had a cuppa, had a chat. I think that was probably 23 hours on my feet. So still a significant amount of time to cover.
This is the first time running into a second night. Things are about to get funky. How are you feeling energy-wise? I
thought I was going to be exhausted, completely dead on my feet. And there's a few times, yes, I'd be lying if I wasn't sleepy tired. I remember saying, maybe even as far back as Grasmere, that, I'm getting tired now. I wasn't ready to throw the towel in. It wasn't that kind of But again, I think it's just the mood when you're able to eat, when you're able to fuel yourself, that completely transforms your experience. But this is quite, again, it's all in reverse, but this is a very familiar section for me from Ambleside over to Troutbeck, not a huge climb. And I expected the whole race to be really quiet because there wasn't a huge field, but similar to Dragon's Back race where they have the hatchlings, you've got I'm not too sure if I ever saw any 5 valley runners, but I definitely saw 7 valley runners. So it always felt like there was somebody on the horizon or somebody behind you. And especially when the sun went down again, you just see this stream of head torches. This is probably my second favourite part. When the sun was coming down, going up the valley out of Troutbeck before you start the climb to High Street, it was just like a dream state. The colours, being absolutely knackered. It was just, absolutely sensational. I could have just stayed there all night. I just could have pulled up, sat on a rock. If I had food and a hot cup of tea.
They don't want a hot cup of tea.
I remember Paul Nelson saying, "Oh, it's quite a nice climb this out the valley. Don't worry about it. It's fine." And it was a lovely, sensational climb. And I'm thinking, well, I know where we're going. This climb surely has to start soon.
Yeah.
And then when it did, it felt like it was pretty much like 45 degrees. I love that time. I remember Bob Graham round going up Barry, just head down, feet in the trod, pulls out, not even looking up, just just moving on up. I really enjoy that. I got a bit disorientated. You get to Thwaites Crag. For some reason, I just thought we were going to go left. But no, everybody was going right. And that's when you're really grateful that there's head torches and these little pink flags. Lecky poles out. I think, once the poles, I don't know what it is, on a training run, I seem to be able to manage the pole admin quite well, getting them in and out of my little stretchy waist belt. Come race day, I'm literally all fingers and thumbs. I did try 3 Freddos once. That was a bit too much.
The moisture required for 3 Freddos all at once. If you're only taking 500 mils over 2 hours, you're not ready for that.
I just remember trying to rub it off my teeth. It was the nicest time I've ever brushed my teeth after that race because the amount of sugar.
The nicest time was when I brushed my teeth after the spine race, having not brushed them the whole week.
Oh, that is filthy. I forgot to put a toothbrush in my drop bag. I was going to brush my teeth at Ambleside and I just really kicking myself.
Shane messaged me going, God, Gary's breath.
Halitosis.
Smell it much over Zoom, but
And that when we were up in the higher fells there around High Street, that's where I mentioned it on the podcast. Lots of mountain safety tents, quite frequent.
Sitting down, out having a brew, were they saying?
Yeah, they had the jet boils out, people on foot too, like mountain safety teams out on foot. So totally felt safe. And that climb, oh my goodness me, that descent. So once you'd reach the summit and you start dropping down into, what's it called? Hazewater. Like if anyone ever said, it's one standout piece of kit, I'd have to be my Lecky poles. I couldn't imagine. Same as Dragon's Back race. This race with the nature of the climbs, and especially at the end of the year, this end of September, hallucinations big time kicking in then. I don't know if they're hallucinations or tricks of the light, but anytime I'd see like a rock, it could have been a dog, a badger, a sheep lying down, shadows. We talked about this the other day, how shadows, people would be jumping out from the shadows. Shadows would be jumping out from the shadows.
Oh no, Gary, that's not
Definitely in Keswick. There was people in the street that weren't there when I actually got.
Oh my God!
But they were families, so it was like a parents and children. And my initial thought was, who the hell drags their kids out at 5 a.m?
How were you about to go?
Oh, you're a terrible parent. Normally, I remember when I was a young adult experimenting in life.
Love this side of Gary.
Drugs didn't sit well with Gary. I wasn't.
Is that the same experience? Because I almost get a bit...
Get off on it, yeah.
Get off on it. I actually really enjoy that state of but I never taken drugs, but I presume it's like that sort of trippy, what's real, what's not real. You're in a sort of...
I think it can go both ways. If you're like me and a bit uptight.
Was it frightening?
No. I thought it really would freak me out because I don't really like being out of control. Do you remember a film called Where the Wild Things Are? Big furry beasts.
Yeah. I don't think I've seen it, but I know what you mean. Yeah.
That I was convinced. But it got to a point where eventually, after the 10th time, you'd know.
Yeah, you know, like my dad and his golf jumper. Oh, he's here again. I know you're not. I always quite enjoyed it. I was just like, all right, Dad, all right. And then, oh no, it's just a gate.
Yeah, exactly that. It would be quite easy to DNF Glenriddin. Saw a listener from the podcast, Dan Briggs. He kept me entertained. I think he was making some jokes about Trail Runner Nation, something like that. I can't remember what it was. Some other, not a rival podcast, but another podcast. The roaring fire, comfy seats. It was that real old school hostel vibe. I absolutely.
Your eyes going.
Oh yeah, cozy. I think that might have kind of encouraged me to leave that checkpoint. But that is so familiar for me. Many races I've done in the past, like say Two de Helvellyn, goodness me, the amount of times I've been over Sticks Pass, even Recce's and stuff like that. And yes, Fonside Farm Cottages, we've been down in the Vale. So you drop down in the Vale, you run those trails. We saw Joanna and her son. Oh, this must have been so much past their bedtime. There was always a couple of guys just ahead of me, maybe 10 or 15 minutes ahead of me, Michael and Ben, and they were in the 13 Valleys. So I initially thought, because there was two head torches, I think they were lost. They were kind of, because it just made no sense. They weren't moving. They were going backwards and forwards. But yeah, to get there, and it was Joanna and her son. That was great. And they stayed with me for a few minutes until we met the cow fields of doom. And of all the course, all the mountains everyone's climbed, I bet you the biggest takeaway for everybody is these two fields of just filthy, churned up. Oh my goodness. I was laughing. It was hilarious. If you didn't have your poles, I'm not too sure. There's probably loads of trainers left in that field. It was absolutely sensational. I love your face. But I knew what it was going to be like because I reckoned that. I just think these are 51-year-old slipping and sliding in a field in the middle of the night. Who gets to do that? Off my head, yeah, hallucinating. Just how many times do you actually get to do that in life?
What's your moving time? Because I've pulled up a few of my athletes on that before. Your moving time would have won the race.
Yeah, I should check all that. I've not really paid any attention to that side of things. Yeah, it'd be interesting actually. What was my moving time? But then, so you've left the field because I stayed so long at Glenriddin. And that was deliberate. I knew probably won't spend long at Threlkeld checkpoint, although I probably did spend a bit longer than I thought. I had a nice cup of tea. I don't know if I had soup or not. I definitely had a cup of tea, but I walked out of the checkpoint with that cup of tea. And that's when I played kind of catch the head torch game.
Classic. Love it.
Yeah. I thought, well, I've got energy. I had no idea who was ahead. I mentioned about Michael and Ben. I knew they were like 10 or 15 minutes ahead. I thought, there was part of me thought, well, if they're walking, I don't know. I had no idea what state they were in. They did finish like, I think 15 minutes ahead of me. But if they were walking and I was running any kind of capacity, I'd quickly catch them up, to be honest. So that was probably the initial motivation behind it.
You actually had torches.
Yeah, loads. Yeah.
Slap them on the bum as you went past.
Unfortunately, they were all 7 valleys, though.
That's a crush some dreams then of the 13 valleys. Cocky little podcast host ran past them. All right, there, doing really well.
Where'd you stand on this? When there probably would have been a few people who I did say I did it. I co-hosted a podcast. Is that a bit?
You didn't.
Is that a bit much, or because I'm mindful? This is a bit of a job.
You knock on doors as you ran through.
Just leaving buffs in people's letterboxes. Because sometimes I think that person might really love podcasts, but for some reason they haven't listened to the Tea and Trails podcast. But then I don't want to be that dick who's flexing. But there was a few points where, I don't know why, some reason I got chatting about Alan Partridge with somebody. And because there's been a few little Partridge jokes on the podcast, then I did slip in.
You thought your slippery, slimy little way in. Sometimes I find in races, I'm talking to people and I think, do you know who I am? Not in a, do you know
who I am?
But then you think like, am I like, because also sometimes you talk to people and they know a lot about you and you think, then you're thinking, how do I know, do I know you?
Yeah.
Or am I being rude? You just never want to be rude, do you? Never want to be rude.
Goodness me.
I personally would never say, hello, I'm the co-host.
I'd be mortified if even in my darkest slump, I was rude to somebody. If that was somebody's impression of me, that would break me. I'd need to do 10 good things to cancel out the bad thing. But
lots of Freddos.
Because my memory is I was quite coherent. I was quite engaged with people. You know, I'm not an academic. I'm not a philosopher. That's not kind of the level of engagement that you're going to get from me. But I hope I was present, unlike when I bumped into Richard McDowell outside of Ambleside, and I had nothing. I had no crack whatsoever.
You don't have to be present. I think that's really important in races. Like, you don't have to be giving smiles and high fives and enjoying.
No, but it's just a good bit of feedback. I was in a good place. I think that's what I'm.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Okay. On the map, so when you were coming into Keswick, you have to kind of like run quite a little bit through the streets of Keswick to the finish. That must have been it looked like you were going like.
Well, because I know Keswick quite well, why can't I just go through the tunnel and go left instead of right? But yeah, it was a bit wavy, you know. I suppose I've got to be mindful because not everybody finishes at 5, 6 in the morning. Some people will finish when it's quite busy. So that probably determines the route they took. But I would have loved to have just gone through Fitzpark. That would have saved you goodness me, a few hundred meters in the scheme of 100 odd miles. It's I think I can cope with that. But yeah, although I was having a blast, I was begging for the finish. I just like any race like this. Although, yeah, this is what we love doing. You just want to press stop on your watch.
Yeah, the last 2 miles, you're done. I'm done. It's not fun anymore.
But I'm not used to that quiet finish. I'm not, and I know people. Like Aaron said, was like, "Well, welcome to my world. This is basically this is where I am on races." So yeah, that was quite unusual getting through the finish gantry and there's like 2 people there or something like that. But yeah, it was great. You know, loved it. I'm not too sure what my why was for doing this race. Not even too sure how I ended up being on the start line, to be honest. So that worried me, being so bruised off the Lake 100, how I was going to cope if things went bad. Really?
Yeah.
And I think psychologically, more than physically, I needed a good race. And how you define a good race is completely different for everybody. I have to say, categorically, it was 100% a good race. If I knew every 100 miler was going to be half an hour in a checkpoint to calibrate myself, and then that adds 5 or 6 hours onto your journey, I'm not too sure I want to do that every time. But to know now that if things do go south, I've got the tools, I've got the knowledge, I can park the ego, I can park just chasing the clock. The takeaway is I just had an absolute, like, see, the contrast Lake 100 was just a blast with Robbo, 20 odd hours with your best mate. That is awesome. But,
8. Oh, God.
but the experience of how I felt during the race was not pleasant whatsoever, Lake 100, while this was the complete. So my memories are all positive.
I love that positive. That positive. So unusual for us to have.
I needed it
to our races. People were asking on social media forums, what's your kit?
No particular order. Ultramont Blanc carbon. I know you mock me. Carbon plated shoes.
Oh,
sensational, Eddie.
Sensational. Any blisters? No foot problems?
0 foot problems. I had my Injinji socks. I ordered some trench foot cream, so I used that for a few days beforehand. No blisters at all. The Mont Blancs, so there was points where it was wet, slippy rock. The vibrant rubber on. So yeah, it doesn't have to be specific to the Mont Blanc, but any shoe with vibrant rubber.
And you're running at such a low intensity over that sort of distance.
Yeah.
But you will be slightly more careful with your foot placement too, won't you?
Yes, they've only got like 3.5 mil lugs, but the combination of having the poles with the shoes, I think that kept me on my feet. You would have needed, in some parts, to have secure grip. You didn't need mud claws, but they would have crippled you on all the other sections of the race.
Oh, yeah.
Lecky poles, yeah. Whatever your poison is, whatever
go
it
out. Once you get them out, they never go back.
Never go back. I had my Ultimate Direction Ultra Vest. I did have the Adventure Vest too, because that's what John Kelly used on his spine race one year. But fortunately, they didn't bring into action the adverse weather kit. And I wore some of the layers that would have normally went in a pack. So that was fine for that. Yeah, sensational, no issues. You only really get to test these things out properly, say with the poles, taking them up and down, putting stuff in your vest, taking out gels, filling up your bottles, all these little things. They only really properly get tested on race day. And Precision Fuel and Hydration Carb Drink Mix. Yeah, I ran out of enthusiasm for the gels and chews pretty quick. But the carb drink mix, I had no flavor fatigue. I appreciate that's quite subjective. Some people will or won't like it, but for me, to consume one type of product for 30 odd hours, I'll definitely be doing that again. I had my Instinct stretchy waist belt on. Honestly, I'm so vain. After all those horrendous, I can't believe I'm even going to admit to this. After all those horrendous photographs of the Lake 100 where I was like, I felt I was really bloated. I stopped before we got into Keswick and took because I thought maybe if Aaron was at the fringe or someone was at the finish, there's probably the chance someone's going to take a picture of me. So I stopped and took my waist belt off because I couldn't bear for this bloated Gary to have more photographs circulating online. So yeah, I took it.
Only you were looking at it. We were all looking
Well,
at it.
yeah, it's only me that probably cares.
Miles.
So again, I had my little cup in there, my little collapsible cup. And unlike other races when I've just shoved that cup in the backpack and never thought I'd ever use it. Oof. I think I'd come into the checkpoints holding my cup out, like, please give me a cup of tea. So that worked well. And again, also you just chuck in your rubbish, the packets that you've just eaten, your gel wrappers.
I can't imagine doing a race now without my belt.
Gloves go in there. So it's easy just to get things on and off quite quickly. Head torch was the Phoenix. Oh, I'm blanking on the model. It'd be quite easy to find out what model it is. H6, yeah, 6.5 or something. And so I had a spare battery, and that lasted. So basically, yeah, between the head torch, I don't know what the charge of the spare battery was, but I swapped out Ambleside. It didn't die on me over the first night, is what I'm trying to say. So I don't think I probably needed to change the battery, but I thought, well, I don't want to be faffing around in the dark. So I did all that at Ambleside. And that was the main, I had some base layer on. I think it was a Montane base layer. Some Adidas London Marathon tights. I think I got them at the London Marathon Expo quite a few years ago. And that was about it from the kit. Well, everything. Yeah, if there was a race again tomorrow, there's nothing I'd change out of that list, put it that way.
Are you going to do it again?
Initially, probably about mile 70, I was thinking Lakeland 2025 is my last 100 miler.
Yeah, for sure. I hate this shit. I'm never doing it.
It was only because I didn't want to be puking for hours and hours and hours. That was, but I've already softened my opinion on that. Whether I'll do this event or not, I'm not 100% sure. There's loads of, the cookie jar is big, but if someone's asking me to recommend it, then without a doubt, it just had everything from a trail race. And especially for me, geography-wise, pretty close. I don't have to drive to the south coast or to Scotland to do recce's. It really fits.
You don't need to recce again.
Maybe 2026, I would do the full 13 Valleys again. If I was going to do it next year, sensibly, it probably should be the 7 or the 5. Half a dozen of my mates from East Coast, East Durham say, do you fancy it, guys? And we'll have a blast. I'd probably
now they hear you can, your mates especially, now they hear you can have 10 Freddos from each checkpoint.
But yeah, it was wonderful. I absolutely, from start to finish, I would definitely do the race again. They're all legit events. Quite often people, when you say one of the 100 runners or the 13 Valleys runners, people always go, oh, I'm just doing the 7, I'm just doing the 5. They're all legit races. Do not think by doing the 5 valleys, goodness me, you've got some huge climbs, that's up to High Street and then over Sticks Pass. Heavy flex.
Well, there's only one word to describe you, Gary, really.
Sensational.
Thanks as ever for sharing your race. We all lived it. We lived through it on open tracking, and now we get to live through it again on the podcast. You're a hero. You're my Fredo hero. I'm going to call you Fredo from now on. We love you a long time. Good job. Let's recover now. No more. Let's have a few weeks quiet now. Let's get rid of this, you poor chest.
But yeah, big thanks to everybody. I saw the support when I finished the race, and it's pretty overwhelming sometimes, this little podcast, and people are reaching out. It's I appreciate it. And all the love in the checkpoints. We're super fortunate. I never take it for granted. If you passed me or if I passed you, whatever it was, I was grateful of all those moments. So you do the quick 5. What have you got for me?
Oh yeah, quick 5. Okay, quick 5. Here we go. Tables have turned. The master becomes the student. Okay, you're sitting down in your favorite restaurant, Bella della Restaurant. I don't know what you have in Wingate. Fancy Italian. You've ordered soup as your starter. Waiter delivers it, and you go to dip your spoon into the soup. And there's there's a short, curly black hair in it. What do you do? Do you return it or do you eat it? Put it on the side of the bowl?
I don't eat this. I don't eat the hair. The hair comes. Eddie, I'm that person. I don't complain, but I never go back.
Oh, you talk with your feet. I love it. No, I don't know. I'm not sure I could eat it. I'm not sure I could eat it. And I would never send it back because they probably spit in it, to be honest.
Well, yeah. It's a tricky one. That's just a hang up from my childhood was don't cause any fuss.
All right, I'm knocking on your door. I've been for a run. You didn't come because you couldn't keep it up. I'm running tempo. You say, I've not done anything, Eddie. I've not done anything. I've not cooked anything. I've got no food. I am hungry. What takeaway are you taking me to? And what's on the menu?
Oh, say Wingate is not blessed.
I'm even more angry now. You're going to make me get in the car, aren't you? You're going to make me get in the car to go to this takeaway.
We would go to Chile.
Do a quick drive as long as we're going to food.
Well, my favorite local takeaway is a Chinese called China Paradise, if you like Chinese.
Yeah, China Paradise.
But we're lucky. It's in a little industrial estate. And next to it is Chile Pizza. So you can...
we could choose.
You can have what you want.
What I want, maybe.
Esme gets I don't know what it's called, but she has a barbecue. I never even thought people put chips on pizza, but this is actually a thing. So she gets his pizza. I think it's a margherita, but you can put 2 extra toppings on it. And the 2 extra toppings and that's a barbecue pizza, vegetarian, but the 2 extra toppings are more barbecue sauce and chips. Sensational.
Of course, this isn't a podcast, but that is sensational. Right, only honest answer, yes or no, Gary. Is your bed made right now?
Yes.
Heavy flex.
I've inspired. It's Brain and you inspired me. Make your bed.
I never not make my bed. Just like even the kids have to.
I can't guarantee everybody's bed in the house is made.
No. To be fair, eldest child, I haven't been in there. That's because it's in a different building. What's your latest Google search?
Gary Thwaites. How do I do it?
Right, let's go.
Our show sponsors will be delighted with this. This is legit. I'll put it up with the camera. Can you see that? Oh.
No, it won't show, will it, on Zoom? It won't show what's on your screen. You have to tell me.
Precision, fuel, and hydration. That is the last thing I searched for.
Oh, I wonder what you were looking for.
I think somebody asked what because Robbo referred to blocks that he ran when he did the Lakeland 100, and somebody wanted a link. So I've got Lakeland 100 2024 tracking. For some reason, I must have been looking at my times. BBC News, very topical. Used electric Peugeot 208.
I love it.
Use electric Vauxhall Mocha. Two to Helvellyn 2024. Dragon's Back Race 2024 tracking. This must be to do with research. 13 Valleys route. There we go. What about yourself?
Beta Sports. Black Cell Wyatt Chair. Did that what I was talking to. Nat Products. How long after you get your mortgage do you get your money? Right move. White Red Blast Ultra Football Boot. Now, I didn't search that up. That is some other little... Oh, it's online banking for business. Airbnb. Oh, God, this is the story. Best work seat for sore knees. This is the best new game. We could just do a podcast on searching your Google search. Why is my dog coughing like something is stuck in her throat? I've had a busy. No, Taki, give me. Doggy's right next to me. It's because Martha keeps going. She keeps when she wakes up. She goes. But I think it's just I have Googled it, and it's old lady. Like you get a bit of phlegm in your throat, and so she just goes. But it's gross.
I've got sympathy. That's what I do first thing in the morning.
Yes, you two together, farting and. Right, last one. Oh, this is 11. I told you it was best quick ever. Okay, you talked about your hallucinations, and so this is quite apt, really. And Bryn and I always laugh at this together. What's your spirit animal and why?
That is something I've never thought about.
Okay, so you don't maybe next podcast you've got to answer it if you think like, yeah, what is my spirit animal? Let me think, Gary. What your spirit? I think you'd be a dog. You'd be a dog.
I think I'm more of a cat, to be honest. I'm not as loyal as a dog.
Oh, really? Yeah. And you just come in for cuddles, really, and then as soon as like you've got what you want, take. Yeah.
Go and roam the streets.
Yes.
Bothering
in the bin, really anything. But you got quite good hygiene. I couldn't be a cat, you see, because I swear it would all go down.
Carrot dog, pretty standard. What about yourself?
Yeah, I think I'd probably be a. Bryn always says I'm like some sort of, if he sees something disgusting, he says that's your spirit animal, like a rat or something. I'd like to think I'd be a dog. A much loved dog, mongrel. Wait, I'm not sure. Nothing athletic, just like a cozy.
I'd love a fox. I'd take a fox. So there's that scene in Fantastic Mr. Not a fox, sorry, a wolf. There's a scene in Fantastic Mr. Fox where he has a bit of solidarity with a wolf and he puts his hand up. Lone wolf. Yeah.
Instagram stories. Every week we put our podcast out on socials. You choose the song you would like your sensational 13 Valleys race report to go to. What is it?
I've thought long and hard about this. It's no surprise. And I was initially thinking about songs about unity and solidarity, but they all end up being like quite political. So I thought, I don't want to force my politics on somebody else. And then I thought, there's a song by Michael Kinawatu. I might be wrong. And that's like One More Night. So that seemed really relevant to what I was going to do, but I'm not going to go for that.
Oh, okay, right.
I know. Yeah, see, I've gone deep. There's a song by a band called Lucius. I'm not too sure if you've heard of that. It's called Turn It Around. I think I mentioned it a couple of times. It's not about physically turning your race around as such.
So we get it. Okay. Yeah.
It's about reframing something, turn around how you look at something. And I think that is a big takeaway. If I can do it, anyone can do it. So yeah, Turn It Around by Lucius. Without hesitation, I would do one of the races again. I loved it from start to finish. I had an adventure. I was challenged, breathtaking scenery, well-stocked checkpoints, and superhumans, my goodness me, all along the way doing the best they could for us runners. I felt safe without being too supported. You know, you do not want your hand held in these events. It is supposed to be an adventure, a challenge. But the level of support on the high fells, you've probably seen this on the Spine race. I've not experienced that many little like mountain safety teams and little tents.
Can't say you experienced that on the Spine, right?
No, you might have experienced it, sorry. But I don't know what the level of support was out on the course. But this on the 13 Valleys from first started Black Sail Pass, that's quite early on, really, in the scheme of things. But then it really did ramp up High Street. And
that's nice to know, isn't it? Especially if you are wanting to make this step up, that you're the bits potentially that have the most jeopardy, that there is somebody up there just to...
And those little pink flags, even though, you know, I'm not really, personally, I think I'd prefer to be self-navigated, but in my tired state, those little pink flags for the last 50k, so it's a significant amount of the race. That was a sensational touch. So kudos whoever put them out and then whoever picked them all back up again. I always wish it was a little bit shorter. I wish it was like 101 miles. But if they have to keep it the distance 113, so it faithfully goes to all the 13 valleys, then I'm fully invested in that route. But yeah, you've got lakeside trails around Windermere. That was epic. The sunrise there was just, I'll remember that forever, to be honest. Epic climbs, remote high fells, Trods bogs. It's absolutely got the lot. You know, this event is legit. And if you are thinking of another challenge, a step up from the Lakeland 100, we've talked about the times that I did. The time I did in the Lakeland 100, 27 hours this year, and time I did on the 13 Valleys, 36 hours. So that tells you it is, I think, in my opinion, it's not too challenging. Or sometimes things can be too tough. It's not that. It's not like the Barkley Marathons. It's not like, it's not a crazy event like that. You know, it is achievable if you give it the respect it deserves. But yeah, definitely a legit challenge. I loved it. Without a doubt, I would definitely sign up again. And if you are interested, yeah, head over to www.13valleysultra.com. Can you give races 5-star review? I should give it a 5-star review. Thanks, Phoenix Light, for sponsoring our Strava Club and Tales from the Trail section. Don't forget, patrons can enjoy 10% off over at www.phoenixlight.co.uk. First up, Georgina Lewis. Looked like an awesome week, Georgina. Lots of miles, some of the dog, some in the mountains, and some by the sea. Sensational. 61.2 miles for the week, with the longest run of 16 miles. 8,812 feet of elevation. Next up is Ian McAlpine, Pilgrim's Way Ultra, and this was his first 100 miler and a top 10 finish too. Heavy flex, Ian, 108.8 miles for the week with the longest run of 101.7 and 7,831 feet of vert. Last but not least, Stephen Lockett. 7 valleys for Stephen. And I met Stephen at the race actually, so great to see him smash it. Yeah, 81.9 miles for the week with the longest run of 68.4 and the vert, 14,016 feet. Heavy flex though, you know, my goodness me, it has to go to all the volunteers and the workers who supported us this weekend over any of those distances. And to be honest, yeah, there's other races that have happened this weekend. So anybody who's given up their time to help us do what we do, kudos to all our Strava Club members. And if you'd like to be in with the chance of a random shout out, then yeah, pop over to Strava and join our Strava Club. Tales from the Trails.
I just wanted to thank you both for keeping me through what is now a very difficult time. My husband became ill nearly 9 years ago with what was eventually diagnosed as an incurable blood cancer. Running became my coping strategy, and training for races gave me a focus other than test results and hospital visits. His condition is now terminal, and I'm too emotionally drained to find any energy to run. That's where you guys come in. Listening to your adventures, watching your dots, and laughing out loud at your comments is really helping at a very dark time. I've given myself permission to stop running for now and still get out for a walk with the dogs every day. Open brackets, allowed on the sofa and the bed. Smiley face emoji, close brackets, sensational. I know it wasn't your intention when you started the podcast, but I would imagine I'm not the only person who's living their running life solely through you at the moment. Looking forward to the next episode and Gary's 13 Valleys recap. I hope you enjoyed it, Anita. If all well is at home, I'll be doing the 13 Tours trek on Dartmoor this Saturday. Nothing, oh gosh, she's saying nothing compared to our adventures. I think it's pretty epic, but feels like an ultra to me at the present time. Thank you so much, Anita Rea. Anita, just sending you big love. And also Anita actually emailed that to us, and I asked, she didn't send that into Tales from the Trails, but I just asked her if we could read that out on the podcast, because first I thought she deserved a podcast shout out, and also I thought there might be quite a few people that are listening that perhaps are giving themselves permission to have a running break at the moment, and that is cool. I know lots of people don't listen to the podcast when they're injured or they can't run because they find it a bit triggering. I get that. But I hope as well that perhaps we can keep you company in times when you need the bit of company. We're here for it. We're here for you all. And we hope our silliness helps lift the mood a little bit. If you really need to lift the mood, Gary can do a Patreon special of Adam Buxton's question from the Quick Five that he wanted.
With no red shorts on.
It was so rude. Even I gasped in horror and said, you must never say that on the podcast. Anyway, sending you big love, Anita. And I hope you do get to do the 13 Tours trek, and let us know. Send us a picture. Let us know how it goes. Thanks again, Phoenix Light, for sponsoring Tales from the Trails. We love sharing your Tales from Trails. There must be loads from this weekend. Get them in. We love them rude and dirty. Oh, yeah. Please email them to hello@teaandtrails.com. Don't forget to put Tales from the Trails in the email subject too.
We asked Edwina and they delivered. We had some 5-star
Just quietly
reviews.
we asked, didn't make a big deal about it. But we said if we didn't get some, we were shutting down business, and they came rolling in.
Short and sweet, the first one, all caps, the podcast. My favorite podcast to accompany my long run at the weekend. Thanks. KST65 via Apple Podcast. Thanks so much for that. Because that was short and sweet, I will read another one out. Simply the best. I look forward to catching up with Eddie and Gary every week. As a back of the pack trail runner, I can only dream of achieving the level of success they and their guests achieve. That's very kind of you. But each time there's great nuggets of information that can help us all. Whenever I listen, running, walking, cleaning the house, sad face emoji, tea and trails.
Many sad face emojis right back at you. Sorry to interrupt.
I can't do a podcast when I'm doing chores.
What chores do you do? What?
I wash up, push the Hoover around. I miss out on valuable content when the Hoover and the other bits and bobs.
Oh yeah, hoovering, nice. That's for some tunes. That's for some rock tunes.
Tiered Trails has the perfect mix of running, real life laughs, and the odd tier to give the most entertaining and informative trail running podcast out there. Give your ears a treat. Izzy, ! Kiss kiss via Apple Podcasts. Thank you for that. Sensational. It made my day seeing those reviews come rolling in. Thanks very much, everybody. Yeah, And please pop over to Apple Podcast or Spotify, leave a review. It really does help the podcast get in front of people who might be interested in a trail running podcast. This week's competition is supported by Harrier Trail Running. Thanks, Harrier. You could win any one item from the Harrier range. Awesome prize. You might be in the market for some running poles. Woof, I leaned on my running poles big time.
Metaphorically and physically.
Physically, yeah. A hydration vest, a dry bag, or even insulated jacket. Loads of other items too. Harrier has you covered. What you need to do is, one, like the pinned competition post. And thanks so much, everybody who has...
Oh, I just give myself a little treat every day and I'm going to just have a look. I don't know how we're going to choose.
Honestly,
Gary.
there's so many pictures. It's going to be super tricky. I've seen one
everything.
that resonated. I wonder if we're thinking of the same one.
There is one that I was like, did you have a moment? I was like, it's got my gibbling.
Oh, well, if that's the same one, we'll have to chat after.
We've done that before, haven't we? We've done that before.
Share the pinned competition post and in the comments, pop a picture of you on the trails. You don't have to be running. We are not judgy. Whatever you are doing out there, take a picture. We love to see it. Also, a little spoiler. 13 Valleys team have offered prizes for a future competitions.
What's the sort of price point for their entry?
Entry for the 13 Valleys. I'm not too sure about the other races, but I think the 13 Valleys is around the £200 mark. So spoiler's going to be 2 prizes for you and a mate. So that's a healthy saving if you fancy one of those events. Anyway, it's not about 13 Valleys. This week, Harrier Trail Running Prize Comp winner will be picked on the 21st of October. And like I said, thanks everyone so far who has entered the competition.
Both our weeks have got no. Evie, when we used to take Evie to her French nunu, which is like childminder, as we drove up the hill, she used to go no. That's how I feel today. No. Actually, I wrote that yesterday, and my weeks always start on pretty good, and then they decline during the week. I've done my gym, Gary. I upped the weights on everything. I put the weight on the squat rack, and I was in this big coat and this hat because I've been for my run, and then the gym is like in this basement bit, so it's quite chilly, and I kept it on. So I did a lot of warming up before I did slowly put the weights up because I wanted to go that little bit bigger, and then so I started in my full winter kit. By the end, I was literally in my sports bra and leggings because I was so nervous I get nervous just lifting the weight off the bar, off the rack. I'm am I going to be able to get this back up? And I'm not too... Today I thought, I could be paying for this the next day, but I can feel I've done my weights, but I'm not too stiff, which is, I think and that's why, if you're doing weights, I think doing the same exercises again and again, but just instead of changing the exercise, if you increase the weights, one, you can see the progress, but also I don't think you get as much DOMS because the body is but I always finish with something pretty heinous. I think that gives me more pain of the DOMS. What did I do yesterday that was 24? I did a set down of 24 somethings, weighted step ups into press ups. So 24 weighted step ups, 24 press ups. And I thought it was going down in sets of 2. I was like, oh my God, this is epic. But it was going down in sets of 4. And the first 24 and then the 20, they were hard. And then once you get down to 16, they were, but I was the only one in the weights room, which was good because I was going,
Why did you increase the weights? Was it just easier?
I just got more confident, I think. I think I've done 3 weeks maybe of consistent weights, 4 weeks. And so I just felt... I feel ready. I think it's really when you feel ready. If you go to the gym regularly, often you come away and you come off the rack or whatever, and you go, I want that. There's the most important bit of getting stronger is the last 2 reps. And I want those last 2 reps for me to question my life choices and me to be having to really focus. And I can feel my muscle fiber recruitment. And the last time I did it, I thought, I was still going, Hercules. Oh, yeah. I was like, I'm ready. So that's why. So The week's going okay. I don't know when. The long run is the bane of my life this week again. I might do another split long run. I did think if I really blitzed round, I've got like almost a 9-mile loop, and I could do that twice if I don't pause or breathe. I probably could do that. I could probably do that in like under 2.5 hours and cover some ground. Hopefully I'll be able to fit that in. I'm heading down to Glasgow on Saturday for the Wild Heart Runners conference. Really looking forward to that. I tell you what, the logistics of me trying to organise dogs and children on a Saturday, mind blown. I don't know anybody, Gary, so I can't palm people off. Back in France, it was easy because I had everybody knows your name, so I could palm dogs, children, Bryn off. I don't know anybody.
It's tough without a network. Yeah, I never thought of that.
I've got a network, so I have managed to. Hi, we don't know, but you're on the WhatsApp group, and your picture looks like you've got a boy. Yeah, is he about 12? Hi, can you look up? Anyway, I'm a bit sad because I'll be missing a rugby game. But not that sad because I've heard, Mum, they're the biggest boys in the league. I'm like, oh, okay, Mum doesn't need to watch that. But the logistics, I bet every woman, it's a women's only conference. I bet every woman that's going is sorting like, right, I need to organise everything just to be able to go and do this thing. But always it's worth it. It will be worth it. It'll be great. So I'm looking forward to that. And then I think Sunday will be a day of breathing, laundry, catching up on stuff. But hopefully a better week than last week. And it will finish on a bit more of a positive as well. Get the balance a bit better this week as well.
Have a blast, Eddie. I'll be excited.
Have a blast. What about you? Big Yazoo 800s? Is that what you've got on the plan?
The Yazoo 800s, yeah. Or a Zadapec session. We'll do one of those.
Yeah, love it. Just cut down ladder threshold into Z5.
I'm going to fully embrace this because after Lake 100, obviously, I was mindful of 13 Valleys coming up. I do have a race at the end of the year. We've got Two Dale Velen, which I'm not. It's going to be another. I think that's going to be another nutrition test, actually. See if I can gel it or drink like a Tailwindy or Precision Fuel Hydration, have their drink mix or experiment with that.
Well, were you going to call this like your off season, your like downtime?
I don't want to go to the well too many times. So yes, I've got 13 Valleys. Sorry, Two Dale Velen. But I'm really going to focus on all county tops in May. Put it out there. Robbo and I
think you could have October like very low key.
Yeah.
If you cross-trained, if you hadn't sold your turbo to an incredibly famous brother of a celebrity, I would say but you've got, walking, you want to keep running. I think once you get past a certain age, we can't not run. We can't take 2 weeks off because I think we have to really keep loading everything. Otherwise it will get gristly.
I think next week, definitely this week. No,
yeah, a little bit, but no, just play October. Well, you need to get better. Because it's really hard to record a podcast with someone with a chest infection.
It's not great audio. Luckily, we record these audio tracks. So you might see me with my hand over my mouth, but you hopefully don't hear too many coughing and spluttering. But yeah, although yes, Two Dale Velen, I like to do quite well in it. Historically, that can take me between 7 and 8 hours. Depends on the course. Really does get hampered by the weather. You could do the full course, fingers crossed, or you could just do an out and back to the mine just before you get up to Sticks Pass. So we'll see how that goes, but definitely nothing this week. Introduce some running next week. Luckily, my whole group of friends, they're all doing Two Dale Velen too, so we're all in the same boat.
That's nice.
Yeah, a little East Coast crew going over. So yeah, we'll all pick up some training for that eventually, but I'm not investing. I don't want to go to the well for that and then I can't face all county tops training, because all county tops for me, I always feel it's just part of training for something else. And I really want to do well, but I know I'm not going to do that well because I never really properly trained for it. So I think I owe that race a little bit extra, a bigger piece of Gary. So yeah, rest and recovery. Might go to the cinema. It's not something that you'd actually fancy, but Speak No Evil. Seen the trailer for that?
If something came up with Speak No Evil Travel, I would tell Finley, Mommy doesn't like it. I don't like it.
I think it's going to be one of those. Yeah, it's McAvoy. Can't remember his first name, but looks pretty jumpy. And the Joker too. And George, they're both 15 certificates and George is 16 now. So Lisa's not interested in any of those. So it could be a little.
Yeah, you got to do some boys trips.
Yeah. beer, naughty food, M&Ms last night and a few. Aaron, oh my goodness me, Aaron, what an angel. After the race, he provided me with a little care package of fruit juice, fruit. There was a few cans of beer, which I never drank. But then on the way home, he popped into the co-op and bought me 4 bottles of beer too. What a legend.
What a
so
legend.
I'm making my way through that. Yeah, loads of cuddles with Rex. I'm going to be forcing myself on him, whether he wants cuddles. But George doesn't want them, he's a bit old for cuddles these days. So it's just me and the dog.
Thank you. If you're still running, keep on going. You got this. Take the slippers out, electrolyte, roll the shoulders.
Eat a Freddo.
Sensational. Eat a Freddo. If you're cleaning, God, keep going. You got this. Please don't forget to share this episode. Pop over to YouTube, subscribe. Every little click, every little like helps loads. We can then keep on growing. Gary can keep on growing and we can keep showing up week after week. Thanks to Precision Fuel Hydration, Phoenix Lights UK, X-Miles and Protein Rebel for sponsoring this week's show. Remember the new customer discount codes, T15 for Protein Rebel and T24 caps up for Precision Fuel Hydration. Thanks to our partners and our patrons too. We couldn't do this without you and your ongoing support.
Be kind to future self. Breathe and believe. Progress, not perfection. And if things are not going to plan, turn it around. Have a cup of tea, a bowl of soup, a slice of pizza, or grass-made lasagna. Remember, to get the view, you've got to love the climb. My name is Gary Thwaites.
And I'm Eddie Sutton.
And that was episode 90 of the Tea and Trails podcast.